back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to discuss how to play Tainted Grail, specifically Kings of Ruin. For the most part, a lot of what is said here could help you get through Fall of Avalon, but there are some changes and differences between the games, so these rules, again, are specific to Kings of Ruin. I'm going to cover this tutorial while starting to play through Chapter 2. So if you are not wanting any spoilers whatsoever, you may want to find a different video, but I don't think this early on there'll be too many spoilers this early on in the chapter. So, and again, between chapters is a great place to save your game, pack it away if you need to, because especially in Kings of Ruin, they have you clean up all the cards, pick up all the locations, and you're starting fresh from a new location. So you're not going to see anything of where I was at the end of chapter 1 or anything like that. So first of all, you're going to take your chapter set of event cards here. So you can see I have chapter 2, part 2, part 1, part 3, part 1, part 2, part 3, and then the setup card, which is very important here on top. So it's going to say, find all parts of chapter 2 and stack them face down with 3 on the bottom, 1 on top. Shuffle the random event deck. All right, our random event deck is right here. This is mainly just like, good weather, bad weather, something finds you in the middle of the night. But for right now, we don't need the random events. We just need these. So we'll flip this over. It says build your 3 encounter decks, blue, green, purple. So those are sitting off to the side here, but you can see that since we're playing solo, we're only including level 1 enemies here, encounters. So all of these have the single little dot here. If by chapter 2 we are playing with 2 to 4 characters, we would include the 1s and the 2s. Then it says shuffle the encounter decks. So I did all that. And then place item deck B on the table and shuffle it. So we actually, we're playing with item deck A in the first scenario. So now we've increased item B. I'm not quite sure, I haven't gotten this far yet, whether or not we may be told to draw items from item A. So I've left that deck out. But as you go up the alphabet, the items will get better. So we want to make sure we have those out as well. It says you're now ready to play Chapter 2 of the Kings of Ruin campaign. Go to Book of Secrets, verse 68. So the Book of Secrets is going to be at the back end of our exploration journal here. So let's just turn to that real quick. Oops, passed it. All right, so bear with me here while I do a little reading. Okay, I am back. There's a lot of spoilers in that text, so I didn't want to read it and ruin anything for you guys. So we have read through kind of the interlude between chapter 1 and chapter 2. We're now here on location 112. It also told us to place 113 below us, and Waystone is already out. Then it told us to resolve chapter 2 part 1. So it tells us here that we're going to place, and so this is our event deck, right? This is the remainder of chapter 2, parts 2 and 3. This was part of it, but we were told to encounter the first one. It says to place special event A on top of the event deck. So there is, I think, A through N, somewhere near the middle of the alphabet, cards. For me, they were behind all of my story event cards. So it went chapter 10 events, and then it was special events. So, but they look just the same. But here you can see it looks like special A. And I'm also going to take, it says 5 random events minus 1 per character. So that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And place these on top. So there we go. It actually, during the interlude, told me to pull some secret cards out and shuffle them into the random event deck and actually place one specific one on top. So that's guaranteed to be the first event we have. So I'm going to take these, put them in a separate stack over here. I'm going to keep this one out because this one has my main quest. Find the road to Castle Lothian and lead King Loth's expedition to its gates. Optional task, try to earn the gratitude of at least one member of Loth's strange family. So I set that one off to the side so I can constantly be reminded of what my task is for this particular chapter. All right. So now that we've done that, let's talk about one of the biggest things you do in the game, and that's explore. So exploring itself is a free action. That means you are at a location that is flipped over to its clear side. It does not have the weirdness in the way. It does not cost any energy, and you simply go to your exploration journal and you can read the flavor text, and then you decide where you want to go. So let's just read the little flavor text here and see where we are. Woodland overlook. The cold wind rolls over the cliffside, blowing a heavy smell of wet ground and rotting wood up the King's Pass. Judging from your first look at the lost land of Lothian below the cliff, this realm was taken by the endless woods in years past. As far as the eye can see, there's nothing but the tree crowns. The heavily laden wagons almost hang off the cliff's edge, like a fat cat afraid to take a leap onto a green carpet below. If you're playing Chapter 2, Part 1, go to verse 1. So it's, directing us, depending on what chapter we're playing, because it appears, would come back this way in Chapter 5. If we're not playing either of those, it would tell us to read on, but we're going to jump over here to Chapter 1. So we're going to choose one. Now, we have a lot of options, and this is pretty standard for most places. This is where you're going to be spending your energy. So I could spend 3 energy to lead the expedition to its destination. Requires the Topography Part 4 status. Well, do we have that? Let's check here. This status sheet is very important to helping the narrative make sense. As you come across certain story points, you'll be told to check off certain keywords and then the parts of that keyword. So you can see here I have Topography Part 2. That's, I didn't accidentally skip over 1. Where I was told me to check off Part 2, so I checked off Part 2. Maybe I missed Part 1, maybe I'll come across it in the future. But the story now knows that I have gotten that one. You can see I don't have 4. So we can't take this one. Trade in the camp. It might be good to stock up before you leave, no telling how deep the forest is. Go to verse 6. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's probably going to allow me to dive into some of the item decks and consumables, spend my wealth. I only have 3 wealth right now. I'm okay with the items I have, and I'm at full health, so I'm not too concerned about that. Seek audience with King Loth. Now that probably would go for pretty good in general for my quest, but also this next one, seek audience with Loth's wife. They say Alfred's beauty is matched only by her cunning. Go to verse 16. So that one intrigues me. Look for the Dolores twins. Pay 1 wealth. Loth's children are well hidden somewhere in the sprawling camp. You must grease some palms to find them. So again, this is working towards our optional task here of befriending somebody in the family. And then we can visit the camp's quartermaster, probably giving me the chance to buy some stuff. Return to King's Pass. We don't want to do that yet. You can see here we want to be Chapter 6 or further before we start backtracking. And then leave. So let's pick something here. I think we're going to seek audience with Loth's wife. So at this point, I would spend my 1 energy, moving my cube down from its starting of 6. And we're going to flip to 16. So this part I will read out. If you're concerned about spoilers, you can just jump ahead. So here it says, if you have secret card 12, go to verse 2. I have my stack of secret cards over here, and I do not. I have 11, 14, 4, and 9 thus far. So we don't go there. If you have the small favor Part 2 status, checking my sheet, I do not. All right. If you have the insolent Part 2 status, I do not. If you have the insolent Part 1, I don't have any insolent status. Otherwise, read on. So we'll do that. The guards at the Queen's tent have learned the hard way to protect her privacy. Convincing them to let you in will require some diplomatic skills. Find and resolve the impatient guard. Blue encounter difficulty 1. If the conclusion is green, instead of gaining any rewards, go to verse 4. Otherwise, exploration ends. Well, this is perfect. I didn't plan on this, but this is a great segue into how to do combat and or diplomacy. Now, when it tells you to gives you a specific name of a card versus a number, you're going to look into your encounter deck. So that card should be in here. If it had said resolve, blue encounter, secret card number, whatever, we would have gone into the secret card stack. But here we're going to just flip these over, and we're looking for Impatient Guard. And there we go. Here it is. So we'll pull this one out. We'll set this down. We're going to shuffle these back up. And we will get prepared here. So, one of the Kickstarter stretch goals was this little tracker that I think was designed so it could fit on both sleeved and unsleeved cards. It's a little loose on these cards, but it still works. All right, so there's our starting, and we obviously want to get up into the top 2 green ones. Now, I'm going to shuffle up my Diplomacy deck. So these are cards that are specific to Ionis, and I get to draw 3. 1, 2, 3. Here's my draw pile right there, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Our objective is to move this thing all the way up into the green. We can do that by, if you look here in this Celtic symbol, if we match a Celtic symbol and it's in caution, and we have 1 caution, we can move it up 1. Also, if we hit the Celtic symbol with the spirituality, we get to gain time. So you can see we actually only have kind of 2 rounds, 2 activations to convince this Impatient Guard to let us buy. All right, so we may need more time. Every time I am done playing cards and I'm going to pass to the Impatient Guard, he is actually going to hit me, strike me for 1, and then we're going to lose time. So he actually doesn't lower it, which is good, but I could take some damage here. So let's look at my cards. You'll notice that all of them, and here's some 2 good examples, have keys on the left and then more keys on the right, similar to this one. This one, however, has them on the far left and then on the far right. That's because this is a passive card, so we don't want to cover up the text in the middle here. This card, for example, says if this card is discarded, we drop it down 2. That would be bad. But if I play another card on top of it, I've covered up those words and they're no longer active. But to play another one here, this will always stay active. Now, the first card I play, it doesn't matter. I can play any card. Obviously, I would love to get some benefit out of playing that card. So let's look at what we got here. I probably want to play one of these 2 because I have the opportunity to play this one next, and I'll tell you why in a second. So I'm looking at a few things here. I'm looking for Celtic symbols that I can match up. So here you can see I would match up spirituality and caution, so that would give me a bump up and an up in time. It would also give me a 1 here, so this is a pretty good card to start off with. If we did Feigned Emotion here, the only thing I'm getting, because see this Celtic symbol is not, there's no key for it to line up with. The Impatient Guard he doesn't care about empathy. This is my empathy stat, but he doesn't care about empathy, so empathy is useless to me, at least at the beginning. He cares about caution, and he's very spiritual guard. I would get to move it up 1 here, and I could do this. So in this instance, I could pay 2, I could take 2 damage, and for every 1 paid, place 1 charge on this card. Anytime I could pay 1 charge, gain 1 less, or lose 1 less. So this doesn't really help me out because this guy's not giving me any terror or making me lose energy. He's actually damaging me. So this card isn't doing all that much for me. So I think we're going to start with this one because this is actually a really good start here. So we place our card. Again, this first one doesn't have to match up with anything, but we matched up quite a bit here. So working from top to bottom, you see that we matched up this one, and in this specific encounter, as long as we have a single caution and we match up that Celtic symbol with it, we'll go up 1. So we move up 1. Then here we matched up spirituality. Spirituality is going to tick us up to 3. So we're up to 3 rounds now. And then way down here, times 1, this is our freebie, but sometimes this says 0, sometimes it says times 2. We get another bump. So we're in the gray, which is good, but we need to be in the green. All right. To be able to play a second card in our series, we have to be able to match up one of these instant effect icons here. This means that it gives you the ability to play the card. So if we look at this one, unfortunately, by playing this card, it didn't give us a spirituality symbol to carry forward, which would have given us the freebie here. And it is giving us a Celtic symbol with empathy, but again, the guard really doesn't care about empathy. Triggering empathy for him doesn't do anything. But I really want to be able to place a time token on this card, which is going to give me another bump up in the future. So what I can do here is this blue link that has been created here is magic. Now, in order to do that, I have to spend some magic, but I have some magic. I have this big magic piece here, which actually counts as 5 magic. So I'm going to return that and take 4 back into my character tray. So now I have effectively linked this card. I have made a successful link of the instant action symbol. From here, there's not much else I can do. Again, this Celtic symbol is not doing me any good, so I'm simply going to place a time token on this card. This essentially thematically means that I have shown him, this kind of looks like a tattoo that's been inscribed in my arm or leg or something, and I'm showing them that tattoo, giving them a chance to read it. So again, I don't want to cover this up, because if I do, I cover up the time token and none of this effect will happen. So let's go to him. He says he's going to hit me for 1. He's going to smack me around and we're going to lose 1 time. But that's okay. All right. When it circles back around to me, I get to draw a card. This one would have been a great one to start with, but we didn't get that one to start with. But I also get to remove a single time token from each card, which I do. So I've removed the time token. I get to bump this up 1. All right, so we're getting pretty close. Now, actually, I'd love to go ahead and get this finished off as soon as possible. So let's look at our 2 choices here. This one, remember, I can play this. The first card doesn't have to link up with anything, and so I would at least get the single bump up here. Then the question is, can I continue from this side? Well, yes, because I have 1 caution, and this one's giving me 1 caution right here. So I think that's a pretty good deal. Although I'd love to play this one first, but then I'm not going to be able to link up this one. That's the problem. So this one's going to allow me to move it up into the green, and it'll stay there because he doesn't move it back down. So we'll start with this one. So Feigned Emotion. The first one is free, so we'll move it up 1 here. So we're in the green. Very good. We could do this whole paying health to not take terror or lose energy, but he's not. He's actually taking health, so we don't want to do that. Now this last one here, I could play here. Now you'll notice Celtic symbols with the spirituality symbol, yes, but first of all, I don't want to keep this going at this point. I'm in the green. I want this to end as quickly as possible. But also, there's actually 2 spirituality symbols in that little box. That means you need double spirituality. I only have single spirituality. And unfortunately, by playing this card now, I have, I'm effectively saying this, I'm losing this, or I'm not gaining this, sorry. Trying to read and talk at the same time. It's not easy. So I'm actually going to keep this card in my hand. This isn't doing me any good. This is going to leave this ×2 one up, just in case, if I get another one. So unfortunately, we're going to go back to him. He's going to hit me once. He's going to tick it down. He's tired of having this conversation, and it's back to me. Now, I don't get to stop just because I'm in the green. I have to ride it out until that goes away, which will be at the end of this round. So let's see here. And I didn't really get anything that is super helpful, but that's okay. So yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and play this one as my freebie. Fine. Calm of the Sea is a card specific to her. And then I'm going to throw Truce out there, which is interesting. I love how thematic these cards are. So this is me calling a truce in this diplomatic encounter here. I can draw a card because I have a single empathy. So I'll go ahead and do that. But you'll notice I'm not giving myself any future keys because I'm calling a truce. I'm saying I'm done. I don't really want to play any more cards. Halt, I'm calling a truce. I love how this works. Now, I could actually play this card because I can link up the free key at the bottom. But, and I could then place this. I could pay 1 wealth to increase it, but I don't need to. I'm already in the green. The truce card actually helps me prevent them from, during their turn, during the guard's turn, from dropping it. There's not many diplomatic cards that prevent me from taking damage because usually they're diplomatic encounters, but this one's unique. But that's fine. So we're going to let him go. He's going to hit me 1 more time, but he then takes this, it goes away, and we are successful. We successfully finished in the green. Now, normally we would gain 2 wealth from this, but they specifically said don't gain the reward, go to verse, whatever. At this point, you take all your diplomacy cards or combat cards. You can shuffle them up. It doesn't matter. You can shuffle them up before the start. This card's going to go on the bottom of the specific encounter deck. So it may come back up if I do a ton of encounters, but for the most part, I will shuffle it back up, shuffle that deck back again before a new chapter. So let's come back here to our exploration journal. And it says if the conclusion is green, instead of gaining any rewards, go to verse 4. Otherwise, exploration ends. So we'll bounce back over here. And there's a little bit of text. So I'm going to jump ahead and let you know how it goes. Okay. Essentially, the wife wants us to do a job for her. So we'll see how that goes. Before we move along here, I'm going to visit the quartermaster. You'll notice that these down here are free. I can't return to King's Pass because I'm not on chapter 6 or further. So let's do the free one here while we're here. So it says go to verse 7. So we flip this over and you can actually see that 7 is covered up by a red reader strip. Now, in the box you get this fancy looking red one. There is a blue one hidden in the box. And you don't instantly get to use this. You actually have to find it in the story, and then you can have it out. And every time you come across a red reader box, you can use it. So I'm going to peek in here, and it says go to Secrets verse 228. So excuse me while I check out some secrets. All right, we're back from the quartermaster. Nothing too crazy. I did end up getting some runewood armor from the quartermaster. I will say, make sure you have food with you. Other than that, I won't spoil anything. So now we're actually going to do some traveling and some a little bit of combat here to continue showing you how to play this game. So we've been in location 112 here this whole time. It told us not to resolve this instant effect where it said draw and resolve a blue encounter. We could stay here and rest. It would cost us 2 energy. We would pay 1 food or 1 wealth to gain 3 hearts back and lose 3 terror. Now, that would be good because it would gain me right back, but Ionis can actually easily gain her hearts back by simply gaining terror. So I think I'm okay. That's a lot of energy. So what I'm going to do now is travel to Straywood here. So that costs me a single energy to move from one location to the next. And now that I have entered here, I look for any numbers that are attached. So I can see right here 114 with a little arrow. And so I can look up here and I see, oh, I've got a 114 card that would come in. But since I already have an active Waystone here and it would be touching 114, 114 gets to come in like so. And we can see here's this path I'm attempting to find in order to find the Lothian castle. But also, as we entered here, you can see there's an instant action for this location, which is explore this location. So before we do anything else, we're going to have to get our exploration journal out and turn to 113. So here it says, if you're playing chapter 2, part 1, go to verse 3. We skip right through the flavor text. So verse 3, if you have the small favor part 4 status, I don't think I do. I've gained 2 and 5. Or at least one part of time passes chapter 2 status, there's nothing more to find here. We haven't had to deal with time passes, so we're good. Exploration ends. Otherwise, read on. The path descending into the forest is narrow and winding. When you finally reach the bottom and find yourself amid a quiet woodland, you notice you're not the first to take this route. A young man in resplendent clothes crouches in a clearing nearby, butchering a deer while his purebred horse calmly grazes. Noticing you, the young man waves for you to approach. I take it you're now in my father's service. I'm Ada, he says, extending a hand dripping with deer's blood. Choose one. Shake his blood-stained hand, or don't shake his hand. So, yeah, fine. We're going to shake his hand. So back here to verse 1. You shake hands, and Ada looks at your dripping palm, clearly bemused. Ha! My father has a talent for choosing his lackeys. A real go-getter, aren't you? I bet if I spat in your face, you'd say it was raining. Oh, don't mind me. I'm jesting. Some humor is required when you're the prince of nothing and the heir to the kingdom that my father had somehow misplaced. Speaking of which, if you plan to find Castle Lothian, I might have a small task for you. It is a delicate matter. You must promise me you won't say anything to my parents. What say you? Sure. Oh, all right. So we're going to gain small favor part 4 status, and we're going to go to verse 6. So real quick, we'll just check that off, and we're bouncing around back and forth, back and forth. So let's see. Ada describes a grave with a white marble tombstone in an old graveyard north of Castle Lothian. As soon as the expedition reaches the castle, you must go there and dig this grave out. The person buried there should have a precious bracelet on her left arm. Bring it to me and do not wait long. I'm pretty sure someone else will be after the grave too. You nod your head and ask Ada for any directions that could help you locate the castle and bring the expedition there. I don't know, he says. I was a child when we left, but I also remember the castle being visible all the way from the King's Pass. The woods must have taken it somewhere else. They are tricky like that. I noticed you're only changing when no one looks, though, be it human, animal, or anything else. I noticed they're only changing. I guess he's talking about the woods. Gain topography part 3 status. So we're looking for part 4. But we're getting there. New lead. Loth's son wants you to recover the bracelet buried in the tomb with white marble arches after the expedition makes its way to the castle. Exploration ends. Alright. So we found the king's son. But at this point, I want to show off a little combat. So it says here we can spend 2 energy, 1, 2, to hunt in the stray wood. We're going to gain 3 food. So we automatically get our food right now. Now this is something right off the bat that is different than Fall of Avalon. Fall of Avalon, it would have said flip over a green encounter, but the green encounters did not always offer you food. In this case, you're guaranteed food for your hunt. Excuse me. So let's take a look at what we're hunting here first. It's a white elk. Ooh, so it's going to give us 3 additional food. But also it says to place a time token on this location. That just simply means I can't stay here and spam the hunt action. Then I'm going to have to wait till tomorrow when I remove this token before I can do it again. Sometimes you, like up here, it says to place 2 time tokens there. That means you only have to resolve a blue encounter every 3rd turn. So let's go ahead and take on this white elk. This all works very similar to the combat, except there's no time limit. We have this fancy tracker here that's going to track our hit points on it, or what they call the combat pool. We draw 3 cards, and we're trying to match up keys here. Now there's no specific, oh, you have to have this match up this symbol specifically. Now this one's interesting because it says the more time an elk spends in the weirdness, the more fantastical and contorted its antlers become. So harass 4 to 5, run away. So let's look real quick at enemy traits here, and it says harass effect before it attacks. If there are at least X cards but no more than Y cards in the sequence, resolve the corresponding effect. So if I allow it to take a turn where I have exactly 4 or 5 cards in the sequence, it will run away. But I'd really love that food, so let's see if we can take it down. All right. So it's giving me all the basic stuff right now. No magic to take it on. So I think what we're going to do here is play a good one. Mocking Blow. Yeah, this is a good one to start with. Okay, so Mocking Blow, top to bottom, that's the instant play effect. I don't need it right now. The next one is a red cube, which I can just track on this. So I've hit it for 1. I need to hit it 6 times. And then nothing down here. But on placement, I get to draw 2 cards, which is fantastic. Now, Mocking Blow, similar to Truce earlier, does not leave me open. If you're sitting there dancing around, you're not really chaining together attacks. But I have an excellent card in my hand to play next, which is Reposition. This one specifically is for times like this, where it's going to give me the instant action down by the free key, and then it gives me all of the things back up again. So no attack at this point, just the ability to reposition. So let's see what else we want to play here. Now, I need to be careful. I could play 4 cards, right? But I don't want to play 4 cards. So, yeah, we're going to play this one next and then just stop because I don't want it to run away. I don't want to spook it. So I'm going to play Parry and Strike. I've connected up here with Courage, which I have. It's not giving me any more in the combat pool, but what it is doing is allowing me to plop that right there. Okay. Also, it says during their attack, I get to prevent 1 damage. So I've only got 1 hit on it. It's doing 3 attack to me. I can use my Runewood Armor to block 1, and this card, this Parry and Strike card, Parry card is blocking 1. So I'm only taking 1 damage, which I'm okay with. I could pay a magic to keep this up, but I'm fine with flipping it over. I'll get it back at the start of a new day. So I took my turn. I kept it under 4 cards, and I hit it for 1. It got its turn. Now it's back to me. I get to draw a card. I'll take a look at that in a second. But I also get to remove this time token, which when playing solo gives me 3 hits on this guy. So boom, 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 we jump up to 4. So let's see here. Let's see. What do we want to connect? I need to get to 6. So I could do Fury of Blows, but yeah, unfortunately. So let's see here. Right now, I do have double aggression, so I'm getting 1. I'm up to 5. Now, the difference between combat and diplomacy is diplomacy you have to survive till the end of the time. This one, as soon as I get 6 hits on the white elk, it is done. Now, I could pay a charge and then remove the charge to basically hit him because I have at least 3. But I don't need to do that because I can come down here. I'm linking up down here for free, and I have courage. There's my 6th one. Boom. And we are good. So we have defeated the white elk. It doesn't matter that I'm at 5 right now. I killed him before he could run away. We're good to go. So that is how combat works. Again, they play very similarly, but they are different. One's combat, one's diplomacy. So diplomacy is definitely a push and pull, back and forth type of thing. Combat is hit as fast as you can and hope that they don't hit you back. So I'm getting 3, so that's going to give me 4, 7. So let's take away 2. I love these little resources, but these tiny little breads are so hard to pick up. All right. So fantastic. We have now we've now done a diplomacy, we've done a combat, we've done stuff in the exploration journal. What else could we really do here during the day? We don't need to activate a Waystone. We just did a location action, so that's another thing we took care of. Let's take a look at the abilities here on Ionis. So as an outcast, she does not want to end her day in a location with a camp. So that would be the Woodland Overlook. As long as we're out here in the woods, we're good. Her other ability here is I can take a terror to gain 1, 2 health back. I can do this once per day. And then the last thing that I could do is I think we're going to check out the Stray Wood again. So I had to go here. I don't have the blue, but we already know that I have small favor part 4 status. Oh, their exploration adds otherwise read on. Okay. All right, well, I guess we're going to go ahead and push on then. So we'll spend 1 energy to push into 114. We see a connecting location here. So we're going to get 115 out. Move this book off to the side. Since there's already Waystone there, we just get to continue connecting our little path here. Very good. And then it forces us to explore. So we'll flip to 114. It says go to verse 2 if you're playing this specific chapter. Verse 2 reads, "The forest here is dark and unwelcoming. This seems to be the heart of Straywood. If there are no time tokens on this location, go to verse 3. There is not. So verse 3 says, the heart of Straywood is full of strange beasts. One of them takes interest in you. Choose one. I can run, so I would pay 1 energy, which would make me exhausted. exploration ends. Or face it, place 2 time tokens on this location, draw and resolve a combat green encounter, then regardless of the result, exploration ends. Oh man, what to do. We just went through a battle. I kind of like where I am. So I'm actually gonna run away. But that's fine. So at this point, no, let's do it. I changed my mind. So I'm going to encounter this green encounter real quick since you guys have already seen it, and I'll come right back to cover end of day and start of day. All right, I'm back. We were successful against the Hex Leech, but there is something I did want to discuss. If I had not been successful in defeating the Hex Leech, if it had, dropped my health down to a point where I needed to run away and it was left standing, this symbol here, which is not on all of the encounters, but this one notifies us that this is a guardian. So it's going to stay on the map. That also means there is a standee, or if you have the miniatures expansion for it, there's a miniature for the Hex Leech. You'll actually take that standee or miniature, place it on in the location in which you encountered it, and leave this card out because you may run into the Hex Leech in the future. Then we'll talk about where that Hex Leech would come into play here as we go over the end of turn stuff. So at this point, I am pretty much done with my turn. The last thing, however, I'm going to do is actually exhaust myself to come back over here to Straywood, because there is this icon that looks like an eyeball beneath the name of this location. There's not any in these two, and that's going to give me something here in just a second. So here I have exhausted myself. I'm going to go to the end of the day, and let's go through this together. So resolve any end of day effects. We don't have any out right now. They would state very specifically on your cards or whatever to do this at the end of the day. Now we're going to rest. You always get energy back for the next day. If you exhausted yourself like I did, you get 4 energy. If, however, you stayed above the exhaustion mark, you would go back up to your starting energy, which in my case is 6. But for now, I just earned 4 back. Then we can choose to recover. This is a choice. This is not required. If you do so, you're going to spend 1 food. So I'm going to do that. Spend 1 of my food tokens. I will get 1 extra energy. So that's how you're able to go from 6 up to the bonus one here. 1 health and lose 1 terror. Basically, everything moves 1 in your favor. Then, if we were in a location with weirdness, which I do not recommend, you would lose 2 health and gain 2 terror. So pretty much always try and end your turns in a safe flipped location. At this point, we could also advance our character by paying experience. I don't have any experience at the moment. I have spent it all to, add these tokens here. But let's quickly talk about that because that's an important part of the game. There are several ways you can upgrade your character. One is by paying 2 experience anytime, no matter where they are, to draw some cards from your advanced combat or diplomacy decks and choose one and add it to your deck. So you're improving these decks that we saw during our combat and diplomacy actions. The most straightforward way to upgrade your character is to gain additional attributes in our various, combat and diplomacy traits here. To do that, you're going to look at what is already here. So if I wanted to add my second part of empathy, I would say, all right, 1, 2, 3 points are already there across both sides. To put this one, it's the amount that are already there plus 2. So in this case, I would have to spend 5 experience to put this token right here and have double empathy during my diplomatic encounters. Down here, though, if I wanted to say I have double courage, I would only have to spend 4 because I have 1, 2 traits already here in this row, plus the automatic 2 for 4. The other thing you can do, and at this moment, the only thing I could do it in is aggression. Once you have accumulated double attributes in a certain location, you can pay the cost to add a skill. And that's going to be similar to adding in additional cubes. There's going to be a greater cost depending on how much you have in this row. Here are your skill tokens. And I just want to point out something that took me a little while to determine. There are specific tokens, skill tokens for the determined traits. And you need to look right here. There's a little picture and it's not very clear at all. I'm going to get this as close to the camera as it will focus. So you can see these two right here have that aggression bear or lion or whatever on it. Let's look at some more. So this one here is practicality. It's very hard to tell, but it's just the head of that eel. Let's look at some of the ones for, see if you can look, and I won't tell you right away. But that is the owl of spirituality. Here is the rat. That's probably the easiest one to tell. This one is easily the hardest one. That's the bird from empathy. So that's how you tell. They're not labeled in any way. Took me a little while to figure out, hey, what goes with what? But if you have paid the XP cost to gain a skill in aggression, you would take these two aggression ones. They're both double-sided, and you get to pick. It's not random. But if you choose, say, this side is no longer available to you for the rest of the game. So, say I want to have control over aggression, it would simply slide in here, and there's also a spot right here. I haven't popped them all out yet, but these little tokens are meant to come out because as I slide this in, this now gives me the ability to gain 3 points in aggression. And before I can add this second skill to aggression, I have to put a cube, like so, into my aggression. Unfortunately, it appears that the cubes don't quite fit in there, but I guess they're kind of smushed in there. These fall in nicely. But anyways, minor thing right there. Just make sure that you write down which skills you have if you ever have to save and put away the game. That way you remember which skills you chose. So that is upgrading your character. At this point, you can also modify your decks. You can, at any point in time between days, add or remove cards. You can only add cards that you've officially purchased, but you could take cards out. Say they're not working for you. I've actually removed some of my cards from both decks for keys that I don't quite have. Say it's a double caution key that I need to hit, and that's the only link it provides. Well, I don't have double caution yet, so that card is pretty useless to me. Things like that, I would advise you to do early on. Then once you have filled up your attributes, you should be able to have most cards in your deck, unless you feel like your deck is too full and you want to pull out some of the weaker cards. Last thing here, and this is why we moved back to Straywood, is that if you are in a location with a vision, again, that's the eyeball symbol here, you will find at the end of that section's exploration journal the vision reading. So let's read this one here together. In your dreams, you see a raven-haired woman covered in rags, hobbling on strangely disfigured legs. She tries to catch up with human voices and the light of torches that disappear in the distance between the trees of Straywood. She cries for them to stop. She calls for help. No one seems to hear, or they choose to ignore her. The light of the torches disappears in the distance, heading up to King's Pass. The woman falls to her knees and sobs as Straywood slowly closes in around her. The vision ends. So, they're meant to be very... they are hints, in a way. I'm wondering if that is the individual, the sister, or the woman who died. Maybe she didn't really die at Luthien. Maybe that's the person whose grave we're looking for. I don't know. Very interesting. But I always try and check out the visions when I can because they do give you hints towards the story. All right. At this point, we have done everything we can do to end the day. Now let's start the day. So, to start a new day, we would do any start of day effects. We don't have any out right now, but that's fine. The next thing you would do is remove any time tokens from the card. So here you can see that I should have had just one. I remove my 1 time token from Straywood, so I can go hunting in Straywood again if I needed more food. Also, if I enter into here again, I need to explore this location. Most likely it's going to tell me exploration ends, but they just have that there. If at any point during start of day you look and see that a Waystone has been removed from a location and there's not a Waystone in any of its corners, you need to flip it over to its weird side. For example, here, once I make my way up to 115, 116 here would be placed like this, but since I don't have a Waystone right here, I wouldn't be able to flip this card over. 115 is safe because it has this Waystone. 116 does not. Now, there are ways to flip a location over without having a Waystone. For example, a weird candle is a consumable item that allows you to flip over a location just for that turn. This is those instances where you would look and say, oh, this location has to flip back to its weirdness. Or sometimes guardians, like this Hex Leech, can drain a Waystone and remove it from the board. At that point, you could flip over the location right away, or you can wait again till the start of day if you wanted to, say, pass through that location. Activate Guardians. So this is where our Hex Leech comes in. Say our Hex Leech was right here in Straywood and we had moved away. We're going to roll this die here. It's got some directions on it as well as 2 X's. And we roll it and we can see that it's traveling west. So it would move from this spot, our standee or our miniature would end up here in Straywood with us. It does not encounter us directly, but it means we cannot explore this location. It's blocking this location from hunting. It's blocking this location from exploring. It's basically keeping us from advancing the story if need to. So we may need to take it on and try and take it out. But we can simply walk away from it if we need to. Now, if we were in the same location as a Guardian and we rolled the X, it would attack us. It would engage us and we would have to do the encounter. We wouldn't have a choice. If it rolls the X and it is in a location without a hero, but it is in a location with a Waystone, it will drain that Waystone. Alright, so it's going to look to fight first, then it's going to look to drain a Waystone, again removing it from the board. Last but not least, if there's nothing that it can attack, it's going to move to the highest numbered location adjacent to it. So for here, 114, it would move up to 115 because that's the highest numbered location adjacent to it. It has to follow the same arrows that we do when traveling. It can't, say, jump over canyons and walls and rivers and things like that. So we've activated our Guardian. We're going to clear any events away. So right now, the only event we have is our quest event. Since it's got this red lantern in it, we do not get rid of it. And then last but not least, we're going to reveal a new event card. So remember, we created that very specific event deck that has some random events on it. So let's look and see what our event is for the day. This is the one that it told us to see at the top, so everybody's going to get this one. This one reads, Eastbound Pilgrims. Each character sums up their total aggression, courage, and practicality. Each character with a total less than 5 loses 1. So I just barely missed. So I'm going to lose 1 health here. If you have 2 or more parts of the time passes status or your current chapter, each character loses an additional 1. This is the game's way of having a timer. A mob of pale, distant-eyed people trample everything in their path, heading to some place in the eastern reaches of this realm. So they're essentially going the same way we are. But there's no lasting effects for this. Sometimes it's like good weather or bad weather that changes how you can travel. So in this case, I'm just simply going to take this and I'll have to look and see. I think that this card actually is supposed to go back into the Secrets deck based on the rules. That way we don't run into Eastbound Pilgrims in some other random location. That makes more sense. At this point, we are ready to start the day again. The last thing I do want to cover... I also get to flip over all my items. There we go. So, the last thing I do want to cover, the only action that we didn't cover in this video so far, we covered exploring, we covered traveling, we covered challenging... we covered challenging a Guardian doesn't cost anything. You would simply just go into a combat encounter. We did location actions. We did character abilities. The last thing is to activate a Waystone. it would cost you 2 energy, and you have to be in a location with a blank least corner, a quarter of one of these circles here. So I couldn't do it from Straywood. I would have to be over here in this portion of Straywood. But for 2 energy, I can then pay 1 magic per character, as well as 1 wealth or 1 food. If I don't have that, I can pay what's called the blood price. I would pay 3 health and gain 2 terror to activate a Waystone. That's a lot, but if you absolutely needed to have a Waystone there and didn't have, say, magic, that's what you could do. At this point, though, I'm going to highly recommend you take a look at the story mode options of the game. Some people, yes, want to play this game and have a challenge. Most of those people have already played through the game once before. If you are in this game for the story, for the adventure, for the experience, I highly recommend adding some of the story mode modifiers. In this case, the Waystone cost under story mode only costs you 1 magic per character, so no food or wealth. And if you have to pay the blood price, it's 2 health and 1 terror. Still costs you 2 energy, but it's a much easier cost. Once there was a discussion about story mode rules for Fall of Avalon, I followed those the entire time for activating menhirs, because it became such a slog of farming resources to just activate a menhir that it started to ruin the game. So unless you are looking for a challenge, which there are challenge mode modifiers, I don't ever even look at those. I would check out this card. These are also in the rule book as well. Other than that, go enjoy the story. This is a well-done story, beautiful landscape that appears as you explore around, very similar to Seventh Continent. There's a lot of fun stuff in here, and I feel like, especially with Ruins, Kings of Ruin, the stories that you're going to get from the individual characters are very different. There's very different paths. So there is a lot of replay value in going back and playing as, say, Gerdwin or Osbert or something like that after you finish with, say, Ionis. There's also a decision that you make in the first chapter that I'm very interested in playing through again, making the other decision. So I made decision A. I would like to go back and make decision B, because I think that the story is going to be very different. I won't spoil that for you, but you'll know it when you get there. Otherwise, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a great day.